Okay, welcome back. Today on the bench we have another 25-inch K7000. This is chassis number 3 for the same person, and they have this marked as complete foldover. Now I assume that means vertical collapse because I already have seen some issues that makes me assume they mean vertical collapse, and I'll go over that in a minute. But just after I got this unwrapped and took a look, it's pretty darn dirty. Some caps have been changed, but not all of them. This one here has been C57's been changed, but it doesn't look like any of the other ones have. However, these two 470s aren't original, but they don't look original, but they are cleaner than the rest of them. So I think some caps have been changed, but I know for sure C57 has. I have not turned this over. I took it out of the wrapping and set it right down and just took a couple of quick looks at some stuff. But the first thing I noticed is that the mod here for our HOT, it goes, you can see there's a red wire here that runs to the center leg here for the HOT, and this wire here runs off of this resistor. That normally there's a resistor, a couple of resistors here in parallel coming off the flyback circuit, but this, I think there's no documentation that I know of that says what this mod is. But I'm fairly certain because of what it's running to in the HOT circuit off the flyback, I think it's kind of a dampening mod for the HOT, so it doesn't have to work quite as hard to do what it does. That's my assumption. I don't know if there's any documentation on this. There's very few documentations out there on the factory mods. So there could be documentation on this, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I think this is an HOT mod to make it not have to work as hard to do what it does. Anyway, I can see that this wire here is broken off, and it goes right here to this contact, so we need to solder that back on. But the main reason why I think we have complete foldover, aka a vertical collapse, is because if we look at the remote board, not only is the vertical hold pot completely broken, but the vertical size pot is the wrong type, and it's not soldered in. See that? It's not even soldered into the board. I think somebody attempted to solder it in. I think that this got stepped on or broken, and I don't know why they didn't try and replace vertical hold, didn't try to replace it, can't say why, but they tried to replace vertical size and they didn't quite get it soldered in. So I think that might be our problem. But assuming that this is not the problem, we'll go ahead and go over everything on the main chassis that you'd want to look at if you had vertical collapse. They did send another remote board with this. This remote board was in with this chassis, so I can rob the vertical hold pot to put on here, but that's, if you notice, there's no vertical size pot. However, in my bag O stuff, I have my own spare 7000 board, and as you can see, all of these pots are basically broken. This one's busted here, this one's busted, this one's busted. These are all junk, but I happen to have an intact vertical size pot. So we'll steal the size pot from this one and the hold pot from this one, and we'll get this back in order. But assuming that this is not the problem, which I'm sure that it is, we'll go through and test everything on the main chassis here that would cause vertical collapse. Now, if everything on this passes with flying colors, then we'll just assume that this is the problem. We'll change these pots out, and then before we test it, though, we'll go through and make sure that it's okay to power on. Alright, so I guess first things first, let's go ahead and test what would cause vertical collapse on the 7000. Alright, so there is R91 and R92, and then of course you've got your vertical IC. Actually, I take that back. There's D13, D14, R91, R92, and the vertical IC. So R91 resides down in here. It's hard to see. Down in here is this resistor right here. I think that's R91. I can't tell because of the light. No, that's R92. Okay, so R92 is this guy right here, and R91 is this guy back here. This is 91 and this is 92. If either one of these are open, that will cause vertical collapse. So you have to check both these. These should be 1.2 ohms in circuit. 1.2, 1.3, give or take. Sometimes they're 1.4. But we got to check these two resistors. And then there's I believe this is D14 right here. and D13. Yep, D13 and D14. If either one of those are shorted or open, sometimes if they're shorted, the chassis won't even power up. But a lot of times, if you got a hole, if the flyback develops a hole and starts arcing to the frame, it'll take out D13, D14, R91, R92, and you'll have collapse after you get it up and running again. Or after you change the flyback out, you'll have collapse, and it's one of those 4 components, if not more than one. And then we'll take a look at the vertical IC and make sure none of the pins are shorted to ground that shouldn't be. There should only be 1 pin shorted to ground, and if there are others that are, then the IC is probably the problem. So we'll check these 5 components here, and assuming they're all good, then we can make a safe bet that it's probably this pot vertical size not being in circuit. So that's why it's important to check your pots as well. It may not be a main chassis problem. It could be a problem with your remote board or your pot if it's on the board. Or you could have, because this is the style that solder in, like this, back and forth, the wire can break off. So you want to make sure you got the wires intact as well. And while we're at it, when I work on these, to prevent, with all the manhandling, to prevent that happening, we'll take a zip tie and zip tie this on here. Alright, now we have a strain relief here and not on the wires. Okie dokie. Well, yeah, let's test those components and see what we get. Let's start with the vertical IC, and let's make sure that we don't have any. Yep, just like every one I ever get across the bench, R101 is toast, or the pad anyway. So we'll have to fix that before we even try and turn it on. As you can see, and as I say every time, R101 is definitely bad. Well, the solder joint anyway. It looks like we'll have to fix this one and see how hot this gets. This gets so hot that it turns this flux black. So yeah, you definitely want to remove the solder from this. This is R89. You want to absolutely remove the solder from this solder pad. Don't just solder across it. Remove the solder from the pad. Inspect the pad. Make sure that it's not oxidized, and then solder it back on. And clean it if it is, and solder it back on and make a bridge. Same thing with this. You want to remove this old crusty solder. Clean the pad and then put new solder on. I just create a bridge over to here, as we've seen multiple times. So I have to fix that before we power it on. But to get back on track here, let's make sure that we don't have any shorted pins on the vertical IC that we shouldn't. And I see now the corner of this is busted off, but not a big deal. Alright, so we'll go to ground here. Let's pick this ground. And this pin here, this big ground, this big plane is ground, so that should be ground. And we should not have ground on any other pin. Nope. 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 And nope. Okay, vertical IC is not shorted, so we can assume that's okay. So let's go and turn this back around, and well, now let's check our 91, 92, D13, D14. So R92 is going to be this guy here. These two pads should be 1.2 ohms, 1.3, close enough. These two pads here should be R92, 91, 91. I forget. Yeah, 1.3. Yeah, 91 is here. These two are 91. And these two are 92. Alright, so those are okay. Now, D13 is here. I believe it's this way. And that's a good reading. Usually around 0.250 is a good reading for D13. D14, you flip your leads, and it should be around 0.45 voltage drop. There you go, 0.453. So we don't have any normal bad components in the circuit for the vertical system or vertical circuit that would normally cause collapse. Everything checks okay. So what I want to do is replace these pots and then repair the R101 and R89 pads, and then I'm not even going to really bother with testing power components because we know it powers up in theory. All that's wrong with it is collapse. So I'll get the R101 pad fixed, the R89 pads checked out, we'll get these swapped out, and then we'll turn it on and see what happens. If we get it functional, if everything turns on and powers up and works the way that it should, then I'll do my normal rework and reflow and a cap kit, and then we'll call this done. But I want to see if, well, I guess there's no real reason to even power it on at all right now. There's no reason to even attempt to test it, because I'm sure that the problem is this, and I don't even want to try and attempt to power it up with an open circuit on the vertical sides. I don't want to do that. So let's just change these pots out, fix those pads, and turn it on, see what it does. And if it works, then hey, we can pretty much safely assume that it was this vertical size pot not being in circuit. Well, and of course the broken vertical hole. But let's get these out of circuit here. Or out of the old one. I meant to say get them out of the old one. So this is vertical size. Nope, it's not. It's vertical hole. It's 8 o'clock on a Saturday. I'm sorry. Good Lord. Good Lord. It's 8 o'clock on a Friday. And it's been a long day. I don't even know what day it is. Oh, man. That was a string of very, very incorrect phrases that I just said. Oh yeah, that's a goner. So we'll set that over there, and set that right there. Let's grab this. Okay, and just like that, the vertical hold pot is installed. Sorry that was a bit off camera there, but this is pretty dirty. But it is intact, and everything looks fairly good on it. Ah, we got a broken pad too. Not only is the pot not installed properly, as you can see, but we've got a busted pad here. See that? So whoever put this pot in really didn't know what they were doing, because they just destroyed that pad. So we'll have to fix that as well. There's your pot. It may work, so I'll hang on to that, but it's not the right kind. It's not what's supposed to be in there. So we'll put the correct one in there. And we'll have to fix that trace. Alright, so this is basically, I can keep the board, but the other three pots are all broken, so that's basically garbage for the moment. Before we install this, let's prep this. There we go. As you can see, we now have the trace exposed and we can solder right to it. So if we put this in here, Got it. We can get that, and I know you want to hit that. I know you want to hit that, hit that. Now, the trick here is going to be to fold this over to there. Let's see if I can accomplish this. It doesn't like to jump sometimes. I think that's good. There we go. I like that better. Okay. So of course, now we need to clean this up. Beautiful. And now we will inspect the rest of these. Yeah, seem okay. Nothing else looks broken. Alright, so let's test our continuity. Okay, this should run up and over to, let's see, here. Yep. And of course this one runs up to here, and this goes to here. Alright. The vertical hold seemed okay. Alright, so I think we're back in business here. So let's fix our wire here before we forget. I'm not sure what kind of detriment this would cause if it wasn't in the circuit anymore, but it won't take but a moment to reattach it here. There we go. Now, when it comes to this, we want to remove all of the original solder that was on here. And it looks like it's cracked already. Very slightly. Yeah, look at that. Crack-the-mundo. Oh, crapola. Yama, 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 yama. Have you heard the word out on the street? There's a new kind of heat that's walking the beat. We're citizens on patrol. Wah, 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 wah. Alright, so R89 here, this pad looks pretty good. It's not too bad. Not too bad at all. Now, you can't even see. Sorry about that. I got lost in my Police Academy 4. He killed Mickey! I don't think that was 4, but anyway. Okay, the other side of R101 looks kind of cracked as well, but these pads actually they're not oxidized too badly. So what we'll do Since I don't need to really clean them up all that much, let's go ahead and just work our magic again here. Sometimes you gotta let gravity be your friend, and there you go. Okay, so one, I don't like this. That's a bit better. Okay, so one down. Sometimes you gotta clean off the leg of the component. If it gets too oxidized over time, you got to clean the leg of the component to get rid of the oxidation. Which we may have to do on this one. Yeah, let's see here. Let's try that there. There we go, that's better. Okay. Alright, so barring any unforeseen, undisclosed circumstances, this doesn't look too bad actually. This appears to be all original, except somebody has replaced C57 like I mentioned prior. But all the rest of this looks the factory solder and the whole 9 yards. No one really has touched this in all this time. So I think after giving this a look over, not really seeing anything blatantly obvious, let's turn it on and see if we have full deflection. So I'll come back and have all this ready to go. Now that I look at this again, we've got, I'm going to have to reflow these because this looks cracked here for H position. Yeah, that needs reworked. Let me hit these, all of these up here real quick first. Don't worry, little K7000, we'll get you back up and running like you were brand new again. Better than factory. Put your body in overdrive. 9.95. Got to keep the faith alive. Keep it jumping. Keep it pumping. Oh, better we be starting something. And we're doing fine. Right to the 9. I'd give it a 9.95. Put your body in overdrive. 9.95. It's the motion you feel inside. Dun, dun. 9.95. Okay. It's tube time, and let's see what we get. Okay, all hooked up. We got anode, neck, yoke, ground, power, video, remote. And let's turn on our test pattern generator. I'm assuming that it should power up because it was working before. Allegedly, all it had was collapse, and most likely because of our bad pots. So let's find out. 1, 2, 3. Okay, it does indeed power up. And what are we going to get here? vertical hold. Well, there you go. Contrast is, wow, contrast is all the way down and it's still bleeding. Okay, brightness turned down, H position, vertical position. Let's do H position a bit more, and vertical size, and voila! Quick and easy. Let's see if we can adjust our horizontal width. As you can see, we're about equidistant, about 3/8 of an inch on each side. So if we adjust our width coil here, yes indeed, perfect full square image now. Hot dog. Well, there you have it. That was a quick and easy repair. I'm going to do my normal stuff, full cap kit, reflow, and then I'll do testing again afterward. But just a quick and simple repair, collapse caused by broken bad pots, and of course their R89, R101 normal rework. But I'll get all the normal work done to it, do some adjustments, check some other stuff, and yeah, again, barring any unforeseen circumstance, it should be good. So yeah, quick and easy fix. Thanks for watching. This is we're now 3 for 3. Stay tuned for number 4. It's based off the tag. It should be quite the adventure. So stay tuned for that. Otherwise, like, share, subscribe. I appreciate it. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time.